All right, what we're going to be looking at today is our very first Claude Design project. And our very first project is actually going to be a prototype. Now, what I want to notice right off the bat, you'll see that our design system and our templates right now are selected as none. Also, I want you to notice that we have a couple of different blocks down here. And this is just the UI as I kind of work through. I've been playing with some stuff. As you work through, you're going to get little nuances like this in your UI. But regardless, if you look over to the right, you can still see that we have our template that we can select prototype from, and that's ultimately what we're going to do. However, first we need to select a design system. And so from any one of these designs, you can pick out whichever one you want. We're just going to pick this kind of dark color with the purple. And then you just click the template. Now here, from this drop down, since we're going to do a prototype template, we could select this and that would be just fine. Or we can select a prototype over here to the right. Again, regardless, both work just fine. So now, once we have that selected, you'll see that our design system and our template now are both active with our color palette or our design system, as well as our template type, in this case, prototype. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my prompt and then ultimately select or click this button to submit my prompt. Once I select that, it's going to process for a little bit to get your design kind of moving through. So it's not instantaneous. You're just going to have to wait for a little bit. But what you may encounter is the design system comes back with some questions. These questions are relevant to my particular prompt. So obviously your questions are going to be a little bit different, but generally speaking, you get a few that are common, right? The design system may ask you, do you want this on a mobile or are you doing this full frame? You can say decide for me. And then this actually scrolls to another page. And then here, one of the things I do want to point out, in my prototype design, I just put in a catchphrase, right? Your puppy's paws are in good hands, whatever. And you can do some of the marketing, some of the sales campaign stuff in here just a little bit, just to kind of see it in action. But once you've filled out everything, you can have the system actually give you 2 or 3 variations or just give you one that's more polished that you can actually walk through. You can see here, I chose the polished one because I want to do a walkthrough. Once you're done with that, you're just simply going to click the continue button. And here, your prototype is going to pop up. Now, just looking at it, you might think it's static. There's nothing to it, but we're going to see how that is very much not the case, and we'll see this in a little bit. But what I want to point out up at the top is we have this toolbar for annotations, tweaks, edits, and then present. And the present is what I want to talk about now. And what this is going to do is I'm going to actually walk through the prototype because it's interactive, but I'm going to go through it pretty fast because there's no learning experience to it. I'm just going through my particular example. Your example is going to be different, but let's take a look. When I click on the present and I go to full screen, I'm here and I can work through my actual prototype. I can type into it. It goes to the next screen, right? And it's actually working and it's engaging. That's what you're going to get from a prototype. It's something you can actually engage with. Now, when we talk about edit, when I go into edit, there's quite a few things that we're going to be able to do. So let's take a look. Here, I click on edit, and when I select a component, I can change its value, right? 45 to 35, whatever. But I can also actually change its UI, right? I can make it bold, I can put a bullet point on it, whatever it may be. And so here you can see I can actually edit and engage with it. Obviously, it's going to ask me to save. And then once I decide to save, it's changed to whatever I have. Now from this edit, you can see over to the left of the screen how many options I actually have to edit with. Now here, you'll notice that I have Pro, and to the left of it is Simple. And really all that Simple is, it's the exact same thing as Pro, it's just less. It's just hiding some of the other stuff. Next, I have Code. So if you are familiar with HTML and CSS and everything else, you can select an element inside your UI and you can actually write the code for it. Otherwise, you can actually tweak it, and you can see that you can get the tweak option from 2 different places. And really what that is, it's your ability to use natural language to actually update your prototype if you want, right? You could say whatever you wanted in here. What I want to do is really talk a little bit about the annotate. And so here, when we click on the annotate, you can go into any one of your elements and you can more or less put a comment or an issue in there. And once you save that or you add that comment, you can see that it's notated and you can see the comment over to the left as well, right? So we have the entire kind of spectrum up at the top. The last thing here that I want to talk about is share. What does share really mean? Well, right off the bat, when we look at Claude Code, what does it mean to share with Claude Code? Well, if we're taking this prototype and we want to make an app out of it, we might want to share it with one of our Claude Code projects, right? And depending on if our Claude Code is local or if it's up on the web. And essentially what you're saying here is this, if you're looking at the Claude Code portion right here that looks, it's the prompt, and then you can click copy prompt. Essentially what that is, you can put that into your Claude Code and it tells Claude Code where up on the web that your HTML for this prototype resides, and it can pull it in and you can start writing your web page or app or whatever it is that you're writing, right? So that's what it's talking about here when it talks about copy prompt. Now, if we talk about going up into the web, you can actually get this into your Claude Code if you're using the web browser. So you have some options there to actually start developing this thing out as an actual application, or give it off to your design or your development team and they can do it within their project. Now, looking at this, we kind of start to understand that a prototype really is very engaging. And so really the term prototype, it's probably going to change, right? So it's probably going to become a web app or a UI prototype or something along those lines. But you get the idea. It's engaging and it's interactive. So with that, that was our first project. And if you've liked it and you've enjoyed it, let me know. Thumbs up, subscribe, always a huge, huge appreciation. And in the next video, we'll actually start walking through some of the other templates to get you more comfortable with Claude Design.